Well, hello there and welcome to the December 22nd, 2020 edition of Dessert with Dan. This Dessert with Dan is again concrete proof of resurrection from the dead. Every time we think that Dessert with Dan has served its purpose, somebody somewhere says, bring it back. And so we're dragging it out, dragging me out again and dusting me off for this particular celebration of Dessert with Dan, having dessert on just a couple nights before Christmas Eve. Dessert tonight is a wonderful rum cake given to us by Richard and Jane Leake. And believe me, it is a rum cake. So if I start to slur my words by the end of our dessert, you'll understand why. So. Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you, Richard and Jane. So tonight, what I'll start off with is just a few memories from Christmas, from Christmas preparations from the past, at least in my family, and places that I remember, and a few thoughts. But also very interested again. Anything, any topic is totally open. There's Christmas visitors like Father Aldrin coming in. By the way, if you see the lights in the background and all, that's all the work of Father Aldrin for this Christmas. Both he and Father Carlos months ago had plans that they were going to be taken off, Father Carlos on Christmas morning and Father Aldrin on the day after Christmas, to both go home to Colombia and to the Philippines respectively and stay there for 3 weeks or more. And once it was clear that the COVID restrictions wouldn't allow for them to be able to do that, and they changed their plan, and they're both going to be here over Christmas. And I said especially to Father Aldrin, hey, since you're going to be here this Christmas time, why don't you decorate the place up the way you like it decorated? And so he did, and he did a great job. So we're the beneficiaries of that. Just another one of the wonderful things that COVID has brought to us. Anyway, would be more than glad to respond to any questions that you might have. James looks totally unprepared to find out what those questions are. Do we have any way of knowing that? Should I tune into that on my computer, James?
You can, or I'm watching it back here as well.
It? Your eyesight's that good? You can find this. Oh, okay, good. James again is our producer and director extraordinaire. I'm basically a puppet. Everything produced on this program is coming from the mind of James. So here are the final days of Advent. In my family growing up, we were baking cookies, preparing things. We were not allowed to eat the cookies that we baked. We inevitably burnt some of the Christmas cookies that we had. And the one Christmas cookie we had to make was my dad's favorite, and certainly it's my favorite too, and that's an oatmeal cookie with a coconut and black walnuts. Black walnuts that we kids, together with Mom and everybody else like that, painstakingly picked up in the fall and dried, dehusked, dried, then broke open those darn awful shells and picked out and everything. And so we enjoyed the fruits of our labor from there. Father Aldrin can't keep away. He loves it. What have you hit? Where did that come from?
A friend gave it to me. It's like, you want?
What is it?
It's a rice cake.
Look at a rice cake. No, I don't want. I just want to see it. I love it. Oh yes, we get. Oh, you're amazing. How do we stay so slender and healthy here at the Priest House? I don't know how we do it. With such delicacies as this, a wonderful rice cake, a gift to Father Aldrin that he's glad to share. So that's one of the cookies that we would make. We had in our house, we had the decorations for, like on this night, December 22nd, would be the Advent wreath. That would basically be it. No decorations for Christmas were up. When I was a kid, the way our family was set up, they were like 4 boys, boom, 1 year after another, boom, 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 boom. Then there was a gap of 7 years. There was my sister, 3 years, myself, then 3 years, then my younger brother. So my sister, myself, and my younger brother, on Christmas Eve, early in the afternoon, with our house inside and out showing no sign of Christmas, my mom would pack us in the car and would take us down to the Sanders. And we'd go and visit Norma Sanders. And they lived down in Covington. We were on a small farm. You know, it only took maybe 15, 20 minutes to get down to where they were. But they were in the city and all. And we would go and visit and we would play with the Sanders kids. And Norma was a single parent. And we would visit and all until it started to get dark. And we never visited with the Sanders any other day of the year. It only was years later that I found out that Mr. Sanders had died on Christmas Eve some years ago, and Mom brought us to their house to be able to help, you know, give her some support on what had to be a tough night for her every year, an afternoon. So anyway, we were doing this good deed. Mom was doing this good deed. We were just going down and playing in this house. It was a little spooky because it was in town. It was starting to get a little dark. And then anyway, so we come back to our house. And lo and behold, we would look and look and look until we could see the way clear to see our house. And it had Christmas lights on it. We had never that year had seen any Christmas lights on the house. And there it was Christmas Eve. And the Christmas lights were on the house. And we go in the side door, go into the kitchen, and there, you know, we get ready, and we'd always have, we stayed right in the kitchen or right up to our bedrooms, couldn't get any other part of the house, and the Christmas curtains were up. Mom had Christmas curtains, red little curtains, you know, with little ornaments on the ends of them, you know, and it went so great with the orange decor that she had in the house. But anyway, so our Christmas Eve dinner was always the same. Oyster stew. Back then it was a day of abstinence. Couldn't eat meat on Christmas Eve. And my sister and I just couldn't eat oyster stew. She wasn't a contrary person much at all, but she couldn't. So she wound up eating something else. And then for dessert, we were able to eat some of the cookies we had burnt during Advent. And that was it. And that was the end of Advent, because from there we walked into the living room, the formal room, the dining room, which wasn't very formal, but anyway, there was where the crib was set up that my dad's dad had made, the manger scene with the crib and everything, with all the figures in it, except for baby Jesus. And there we would put baby Jesus in the crib, in the manger, and we would sing Silent Night. And then we would line up. We had a folding door you couldn't see through in between that room, the dining room, and the living room, the playroom we called it. And it was closed. And we would line up from the shortest to the tallest. And we would wait, and when we were all there, we'd open up the door, and there in the living room was our Christmas tree. It was all decorated. There were other candles lit from around the rooms. You know, and we all had the obligatory time to pause when we saw the Christmas tree, and simultaneously all of us went, ooh, and then we went, ah, and then we walked into our Christmas house. And it was great. And we followed the German, what we were told was the German custom at that time, and that was we opened our presents on Christmas Eve. Then we were old enough, we could go to midnight mass. We were too young, we went to bed after playing with them for a while. And then we had a big family gathering on Christmas in the afternoon, Christmas Day in the afternoon. So, but anyway, for us, even this night, no sign of Christmas. I thought that was interesting. I didn't start off tonight with a prayer because I'm just going to offer here and there just a few little reflections as we go. And that whole idea of the waiting and not filling up the time right before Christmas. It's a constant theme. It's Advent. It's really at the heart of a lot of what's Advent's all about. And this is a a great explanation of the Advent wreath from Gertrude Muller Nelson. Pre-Christian peoples who lived far north and who suffered the archetypal loss of life and light with the disappearance of the sun had a way of wooing back life and hope. Primitives do not separate the natural phenomena from their religious or mystical yearning, so nature and mystery remain combined. As the days grew shorter and colder and the sun threatened to abandon the earth, these ancient people suffered the sort of guilt and separation anxiety which we also know. Their solution was to bring all ordinary action and daily routine to a halt. They gave into the nature of winter, came away from their fields and put away their tools. They removed the wheels from their carts and wagons, festooned those wheels with greens and lights, and brought them indoors to hang in their halls. They brought the wheels indoors as a sign of a different time, a time to stop and turn inward. They engaged the feelings of cold and fear and loss. Slowly, slowly, they wooed the sun god back, and light followed darkness. Morning came earlier. The festivals announced the return of hope after primal darkness. This kind of success, hauling the very sun back, the recovery of hope, can only be accomplished when we have had the courage to stop and wait and engage fully in the winter of our dark longing. Perhaps the symbolic energy of those wheels made sacred has escaped us, and we wish to relegate our Advent wreaths to the realms of quaint custom or pretty decoration. Imagine what would happen if we were to understand that ancient prescription for the season literally and remove just one, say just the right front tire from our automobiles and use this for our Advent wreath. Indeed, things would stop. Our daily routines would come to a halt, and we would have the leisure to incubate. We could attend to our precarious pregnancy and look after ourselves. Having to stay put, we would lose the opportunity to escape or deny our feelings or becomings because our cars could not bring us away to the circus in town. I think particularly these last few days of Advent and going into Christmas time, under our COVID restrictions, gives a lot of us time that we normally don't have over Christmas. And we shouldn't be afraid to get in touch with our dark longings or the darkness maybe that we may feel as we wait in hope. The hope is really there. Christ has come and has planted that for us. But the light really shines forth when we've had the courage to go into the darkness. The hope really shines forth when we've had the courage to touch the despair or feelings of despair. That's where Christ comes. We shouldn't be afraid of it. So, I think we can keep our Advent wreaths around a little bit longer and be able to go for that. So, that calls for another piece of rum cake. Anything coming in, James?
Well, we've heard you talk a little bit, Father Dan, about the Christmas traditions in the Knoll family house. What will Christmas look like at Mary Queen this year?
months ago we had to make our first decision about Mary Queen, what we're going to order to decorate. And financially we're not in the shape that we normally are in. And so the proposal was floated, well, if COVID conditions keep going on, there won't be as many people even allowed to be able to gather in church. And with our economic condition, maybe how should we cut back on Christmas decorations? And we thought, and I paused and I thought, and I was actually, I think, the first one to say, and people were shocked that this cheap German would say it. I said, we are going to need Christmas more this year than we've needed it forever. Let's do it up. So on the one level, first thing, the basic theme was, let's have Christmas. So we haven't skimped on the poinsettias, everything else like that. Oh my gosh, the folks that are working on that have been decorating. Some yesterday, they're decorating today. They're decorating a lot tomorrow. And we'll be all Christmas, it'll look like Christmas inside. Now what of course will be different is that we are absolutely committed. Anybody who decides to come to church for Christmas will be safe. So that's why we've gone to a lot of trouble to try to keep people safe and happy with all the registrations, having to register and to come to church so we know when to cut off, how many we've got at what mass. We've added a lot of extra masses. We're going to keep everybody safe from the point of view of masses won't last forever in a day. People will be socially distanced from each other. Everybody will be wearing a mask. We'll do everything safe and all. So we really wanted to do that. So number one, we wanted to, first decision was let's have the place look like Christmas always have. We need light in the darkness. We need hope in the middle of despair and trial. We need life in death. And that's what God came to bring in Christmas. So do that. Keep everybody safe. But try as best as we can reasonably do to have everybody who wants to come to Mass. Once again, there's no obligation to come to Mass. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Bishops have, released the obligations. And number two, we really, really encourage people who are vulnerable, of the age where they're more susceptible to COVID, and if they would get COVID, 19 to the really bad effects of it, to participate by watching it live stream. All of our masses will be live streamed, and the mass schedules at our website, mqhr.org. If you're watching this, you obviously know how to access that stuff. So it'll be good. There won't be as much community singing, but again, we've got. To me, it's just not a Christmas Mass unless we got some "O Come All Ye Faithful" or Silent Night, and we're going to have that. Adam Beacon's done a great job, not only with our music and under these times when you really got to be restricted. Boy, when you sing and project out loud, that really gets all if COVID's going to be spread, it's going to be spread that way par excellence. So we keep the singing down, and So it should be good Christmas Masses. It should be safe Christmas Masses, and I can't wait. One of the highlights of Christmas for me is watching at 11 a.m. on Christmas Day the parking lot Mass. It is supposed to be cold, and guess who is the priest celebrating the Mass outside in the back of the pickup truck? For all the folks who are in their cars, nice and toasty warm with their heaters on, it's Father Aldrin. It's not me. We'll give him a Christmas Day Mass memory he'll never forget, saying Mass in 10 degrees outside. I bet the homily will be short. We'll see. So, anyway, there's Christmas. We'll try to have good Christmas resources for folks on our website in ways to be able to celebrate that. We have hooked up a little special surprise if you happen to see on your phone and Mary Queen pop up, where please answer the phone, take the call. We're not asking for money. Got a little surprise for our parishioners that way, and certainly in deep prayer for each other. So that's what a bit anyway what Christmas will be like.
As you mentioned, Father Dan, you all would sing Silent Night at your house growing up. Was that in English or was that auf Deutsch?
We sang it in English as kids, but with the church we went to, would always have at the crib before Mass, there would be the record player would be there in front of the crib, and it always had the Vienna Boys Choir singing all in German. Our parish was original. The cafeteria manager / secretary / person who some people say really ran the parish rather than Father Steer was Elsa Schreiber. And Elsa Schreiber, if you went to school there, she was you wouldn't get, if you were out of line, what you would get called would be a Schlauberheinus. So there was still plenty of German around, and so we learned Silent Night in German from listening to the records, and now it's a regular feature of our Noel family Christmas gatherings where we'll all get together and sing at least one verse of Silent Night in German. Yeah, we still keep that going. So, as we get going into closer and closer to the Christmas season, one of the things too that's developed in our family that I'll be participating in tomorrow evening. In 1979, it turned out that on December the 23rd, I was in my third year of being a priest. I was in my third year of being the pastoral associate at Holy Cross Church in Latonia, Kentucky, Covington. Latonia is the southern part of Covington. And about after the last Mass was just over, about 12:30 in the afternoon, there's a phone call. It's for me. I get on the line and they just say, they just rushed Mom to the hospital and it looks awfully bad. Get out here now. And so I dropped everything and ran out to St. Elizabeth Hospital to the news that my mother had died. December 23rd. I was like, oh, goodness gracious. So, and maybe that's a story for another time, but one of the things that came from that then was that was 1979. And for as long as Dad lived, he lived at the house that he and Mom had lived in. My dad got remarried a year and a half after my mom died and had 18 good years of marriage with Jean. And but we would all the whole family would get together on the evening of December 23rd, and I would preside there in our living room with the Mass for Mom. And then after we had that Mass for Mom, then we would go and had just a pile of pizzas delivered. Because now when we all get together with all of the siblings and their spouses and their kids and their spouses and their kids and some of their kids' spouses and some of their kids, we're into 4 generations now that are around. We're over 60 people. And we kept up that tradition up and through 1999. And since then, on occasion, we've had that Mass. And since my brother Mick died 4 years ago, we've kind of renewed that again, praying for Mom and for Mick and for other family members who have died. So tomorrow evening, I'm going up to the house that 2 of my nieces share. That is right in the back where our barn used to be. So on the property we grew up in, and there we'll have I'll be with them, socially distanced, and I'll have a Mass on Zoom for my mom. That all of my family members will share in, and then the 3 of us will go just to the different houses briefly after the Mass for all who want to receive communion from that Mass, and we'll give them communion. So that's been a cherished tradition for years at our house on December the 23rd. So that's that's a profound time. That's a profound time, I'll tell you. it's one of the times. It's not always great to be a priest in your family. Sometimes it can get a little problematic, or you get too much thrown at you, or you just make, I don't know. But that's a time it's really good to be a priest, because they really do something, I think, to help, again, Jesus help unify us and build us up in faith and in hope and in love, and to really bring life out of my mother's death. Maybe a good way to finish off this edition of Dessert with Dan in this special season. I've been, for those of you who were stout-hearted enough to put up with it, I've been recording a song, just about an Advent song every day during Advent for that. And maybe here's a Christmas proclamation that I was blessed to be able to sing. We sang it at the Newman Center to kind of kick things off on Christmas Eve midnight mass. And maybe we'll end with this. I'll end it a little different than the way that it normally ends, because it requires a congregation to respond back. But it's by Tom Connery, and it's called Christmas Proclamation. Come, all of you who are not satisfied, who long for more than empty words and hollow promises at night. Draw near the fire that warms a world we'd thought forgotten, and wonder as the lightless cold begins to melt away. Come, all of you who keep our dreams within our sight, nomads in the night with only faintest light to follow. Now a life begins, the oldest journey there can be, whilst undetermined stars complete their brightness in our midst. Come, all of you who may not speak, yet choose to sing, long held hostage to the silence, or left blinded or confused. For all of us assembled, the defiant and afraid, a universe falls silent as the earth begins anew. Then light the candles we have kept since before the world was young. Though the earth herself has slept, now the sleeping time is done. For all of us who gather to remember, for whom the stars themselves will wander in the sky, who keep the vigil and the night, who are warmed by oldest light, who have passed through the sea and tell the stories. Infinite light, be here among us. Wandering star, be here among us. Son of people, be here among us. Son of God, be here among us. Breaking the silence, be here among us. Tidings of joy, be here among us. Peace in our midst, be here among us. Glory of God, be here among us. Glory of God, be here among us. Glory of God, be here among us. May you have a good few days. Let the preparation so you can know the glory of God being here among us. That's Dessert for Dan.